The Scroll of Whispering Winds. In the heart of a world painted with impossible colors, there lay the kingdom of Lumina. Its towers were carved from pearlescent stone that shimmered at sunrise, and its fields yielded crops that tasted of sunshine and laughter. But a shadow was stretching towards this peaceful land. A long, cold shadow cast by King Morgrath and his dreaded Shadow Legion. The Shadow Legion wasn't an army of men. It was an army of nightmares, forged from smoke and fear. They flowed across the land like a river of ink, silencing birds and wilting flowers in their wake, and they were coming for Lumina. In the tallest tower of the castle sat Prince Kael, who was not a warrior prince. His tutors had taught him poetry, astronomy, and the art of listening, not how to use a sword. "We must fight!" roared General Valerius, his fist crashing on the grand oak table. "We have courage, and we have stone walls." Kael looked out the window, seeing the baker, the weaver, and the farmer. He saw children playing by the glimmering river, and he knew they had courage, yes. But courage against a tide of living nightmares? Courage was not a shield, and a cold dread crept into his heart that Lumina was doomed. That night, unable to sleep, Kael wandered into the royal library, a place so old it smelled of dust and forgotten time. He ran his fingers over the spines of countless books, each one a silent story. He felt hopeless, believing he wasn't the leader his people needed in this dark time. Then, his fingers brushed against a simple, unadorned scroll case, tucked away in a dark corner. It had no name, no royal seal, and curiosity pricked at his despair. He opened it, finding a single scroll of parchment so ancient it was nearly translucent. The writing was faint, like a whisper made visible, and it was called the Scroll of Whispering Winds. It held no magic spells, but instead, it asked him 5 questions. The first question read, "Does the heart of your people beat as one with yours?" Kael frowned, wondering what the riddle meant when his generals wanted a battle plan. But with no other hope, the next morning, he shed his royal robes and dressed in the simple clothes of a commoner. He walked not as a prince, but as a listener. He found the old farmer, Alara, staring at the sky, who said the clouds felt heavy with sorrow. Kael didn't offer empty promises of protection or victory. Instead, he asked her about the soil and the patterns of the wind she'd learned from her grandfather, and he truly listened. He went to the mines, where a burly miner named Borin showed him the crystals they dug from the earth. "These stones love the light, you see," Borin explained, holding one up to the lantern. "They are afraid of the dark, just like us, and what we're really fighting for is the light." He listened to the weavers, the carpenters, and the children, and he finally understood. The scroll wasn't about obedience. It was about connection, ensuring his fight was also their fight. Kael's heart no longer beat with fear, but with the powerful drumbeat of 1,000 united hearts. He had his true army now, the hearts of his people. He rushed back to the scroll, where the second question was waiting for him. It asked, "Do you know the sky above and the ground beneath?" Kael spent the night poring over maps of Lumina, not as a prince, but as a strategist. He saw the glimmering river, the crystal spires, and a place on the oldest maps called the Whispering Canyons. It was a treacherous, winding pass, a shortcut into the heart of the kingdom. Legend said that on a new moon, a strange, silvery mist would rise from the canyon floor, a mist that played tricks on the eyes and ears. The next new moon was in 2 days, the very night the Legion was predicted to arrive. An idea, wild and dangerous, sparked in Kael's mind. He turned to the third and fourth questions. "Do you understand the commander? Do you have method and discipline?" Kael knew he wasn't a warrior, but his strength was his mind. Morgrath relied on brute force and would expect a fight, but Kael would give him a show instead. The final question was about calculating victory before the battle is ever fought. Kael spent the next day not sharpening swords, but giving his people a new kind of instruction. He didn't create an army. He created an orchestra of sounds and illusions. 2 days later, the sky was a black, moonless velvet as the Shadow Legion poured into the whispering canyons. King Morgrath stood on a dark precipice, a cruel smile on his face. He was expecting to hear the screams of a terrified kingdom below. Then, the silver mist began to rise from the ground, thick and ethereal. It swallowed the world in a silent, glowing fog. The Shadow Legion slowed, their ember eyes blinking in confusion as the strange mist enveloped them completely. And then, the sound began, starting as a low rumble like the march of 10,000 soldiers. But it wasn't an army. It was Farmer Alara and others, banging their pots and pans in a perfect rhythm. The canyon walls amplified the sound into the thunder of a legion. Then, through the mist, the shadows saw giants, huge silhouettes with jagged horns swaying menacingly. These were not monsters, but giant puppets crafted by Lumina's weavers. They were held aloft on long poles by children who thought it was the most exciting game they had ever played. Suddenly, the canyon walls flashed with thousands of brilliant, blinding glints, like a sea of polished shields. It was Borin the miner and his crew, using lanterns to reflect light off their crystals. They created the illusion of an impossibly vast army, ready to strike from the mist. Morgrath stared into the chaos, hearing a phantom army and seeing phantom monsters. He had walked into a trap, and for the first time, fear gripped the master of terror. "Retreat!" he shrieked, his voice cracking. "Retreat!" The Shadow Legion, unnerved, turned and fled, a broken river of fear. From the highest tower, Prince Kael watched them go, knowing not a single life had been lost. The people cheered, not for a warrior king, but for their clever prince who won a victory that required no battle. He returned to the library, where more text magically appeared on the scroll, as if waiting for him. Just then, a messenger burst in, pale-faced. "My prince, King Morgrath knows he was tricked. He's gathering his forces for a real war, with no shadows, no mist, and no mercy." Kael looked from the messenger's terrified face down to the scroll. The title of the next chapter glowed with a faint, ominous light, reading, Chapter 2, Waging War. What happens when deception is no longer enough? We'll find out next time.